3, 2, and uno.
Hello, David Nuno here. TexAgs Rewind. Dalton was making fun of me. Hopefully you guys got that on the, because I hope he was recording. Hi, Luke.
Hello.
What was that?
I don't know.
Hey, I've noticed something about you, buddy. I don't talk smack. I just notice things, okay? You're against buttons.
Yeah.
You love having your polo chest hair out. Like, this is Luke all the time.
I don't think it's conscious. I just don't like when things are really tight around my neck. I have like a sensitive neck. And so I try to just keep it
think
open.
you're a show-off. I think you're a Miami
What,
Vice.
David, what am I showing off?
I think you're a Miami Vice kind of guy. Like if you were to go, you are going to
I am going to Miami.
right? You're going to wear a white suit with like a shirt that's unbuttoned and open to the world.
Well, thank you for telling the world what I'm going to wear because you now took away the surprise and the wow factor.
Well, wow is number 18 on our 23 and 23. Who was it?
Noah Thomas.
Am I overrating him? I mean, I feel like 18 is fair for where he is right now. I think he could have a huge season.
Yeah. I think he could be the missing piece, that big red zone target. We've already got Donovan Green. We covered him, number 19.
Yeah.
And I really think Noah Thomas could be that hidden gem that not enough people are focusing on that we know about, but I think the world is about to find out.
The world was waiting for Tom Hart to return to the program. I don't even know how to speak sometimes. He was on the show. Ryan Brauninger provides an update on recruiting country. That was good as well. And Juan Haris from footballtakeover.com. You're a Harris guy?
Yeah, I just transcribed. He was a really fast talker.
Was that difficult?
Very difficult. Kay is always on me about that.
John Harris, the best thing about John Harris is if I'm running like behind on some of my show prep, I know like 1 or 2 questions, I'm good. Like, Johnny will take care of a segment.
Yeah,
There's no doubt about that. It's
Yeah.
TexAgs Rewind. Check it. I don't have. This is a new thing I'm doing. Like when I'm closing a segment, I'm like pointing.
Yeah.
Like TexAgs Rewind. Go. Oh, presented by Yeti. He's got something that none of the other wide receivers have.
Huge height.
Yep.
Well, we talked about it with his height, and if he didn't have good hands, I don't think he'd be here anyway. But we've heard about how good the hands are, and that he's gotten bigger. He's not like the guy at Ole Miss big, but he's a pretty big guy.
Yep.
We talked about how the 50-50 ball can become an 80-20 ball with Noah Thomas. All right, that's what we're hearing. Now you're right, we got to see it, but based on all the information, that Noah Thomas could be the offensive breakout player of the year.
I think we're going to see it. I feel really confident about him. And yeah, some of it is hype generated. I understand that. But
all of it is.
From what I've seen from his practice efforts, and I think how he started to turn it on at the end of the year last year, I'm buying. I am buying, because you could say that almost about anybody, right? Like you can go to Alabama, like Carson Beck. We got to see him as quarterback at Georgia, right?
Got to see it.
But he comes with a pedigree. Yeah, he got beat out by Stetson Bennett. Was it 2 years ago?
Yeah, you mean a guy that led Georgia or helped Georgia win two
national championships, right? But there's certain programs that you just expect that guy to be what he is supposed to be. And I'm telling you, I expect Noah Thomas to be the guy that I expect him to be. Wait, that doesn't even make sense.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
You know what I'm saying is, in the previous job, go back 10, 15 years from now, 15 more years, I heard Michael Crabtree, wait until this guy plays as a redshirt freshman. And then when he played at Texas Tech, it was like, oh, everything we heard was right about the guy, and he wins back-to-back, I think, Biletnikoff Awards.
Right.
All I've heard, it seems like, is Noah Thomas.
Talking to Tom Hart here on TexAgs Radio. So, Tom, I feel Kentucky is in a similar vein to A&M in the way people look at them. Like, people kind of forgot. They get Liam Cohen back. Devin Leary's going to be solid. The addition of Ray Davis. I think that combo of Davis and Leary could be one of the scariest in the SEC. Somebody that could potentially, I'm not saying win the SEC East, but a team that I think Georgia and the rest should be monitoring.
Well, number one, their offensive line has to play better. It was given what they've built since Mark Stoops has been there, and their former offensive line coach, John Schlarman, who passed away a couple of years ago after a battle with cancer. Given what they built there over the years, last year's O-line was an embarrassment. I mean, it was really, really bad, especially with a quarterback like Will Levis that they had. Here's the one thing that I don't think is getting enough attention for Kentucky, and you were right to mention the quarterback play. Oddly enough, they could take a step up given the style of play with Liam Cohen back as the offensive coordinator. I love the play at running back, getting Vandy superstar and the second most productive running back in the league. But their trio of young wide receivers may be the most slept on in the league. Those guys are really good. They're incredibly confident. Mark Stoops, a few years ago, said, I'm tired of having an offense that's just 3 yards in a cloud of dust. We have a good enough defense and good enough offensive line that can win some games, but it can't win the big games because they didn't have wide receivers that got separation. Now they got that, and all those dudes have another year or another year better. So I like your point. My question for them would be O-line and defensively can they continue what they've been? Because you've got to get stops in this league too.
Let's go through some of the guys that were in town. Kobe Black, the defensive back. Things looking good with him?
I think they're looking better for Kobe Black than a lot of people nationally want to give A&M credit for. Okay. I think this was a foregone for a lot of people. Thought he was going to Texas or maybe even LSU. And I do think, look, I'm not saying that A&M's the leader by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not saying that A&M's for sure going to sign him or that LSU and Texas are playing catch-up. But what I do feel like is on the other side of the weekend, he's been to a lot of places recently, and he's seen Texas up close and personal. He got to see A&M up close and personal. And I think just based off the stuff we've heard that A&M did a better job. And I think coming out of the weekend, I would give A&M the momentum in the recruitment. That doesn't mean they're going to get him, but right now, if you took a snapshot of it, I'd have A&M in the lead. I think he'll make return trips to Texas. I think he'll make return trips to LSU. I could see this one going like being a fall decision date after he sees a couple of games and kind of sees which way all these teams are trending.
I asked Howell, I asked Lucci, I'll ask you. Like, the fact that nobody committed this weekend isn't what it's about. It's the fact that you got deeper with your current group, and you also got deeper with those that you're chasing.
Yeah, again, I said this on the thread over the course of the weekend. It was like, if Xavier Atkins commits, that's a pool party commitment. If Terry Bussey commits, that was locked up at the pool party. If Kobe Black commits, more than likely that was locked up at the pool party. If Papa Afua commits, that was locked up at the pool party. So all these guys, if you ended up getting them and landing them in your class, like, okay, they didn't happen the Saturday or Sunday of the event, but they are directly correlated to what you did at that event. Those are pool party commitments to me. And like there are some guys in previous classes where I would say similar things, but I do think like in the month of August, A&M can make 3 or 4 additions.
Johnny, I want to talk about camp that you're at right now, the Texans camp, and C.J. Stroud. What has he looked like compared to other rookie quarterbacks that you've gotten to cover in their first few days of camp?
It's interesting, David, saying that. We haven't had many rookies come in as quarterbacks. I mean, I think about Tom Savage. I think about Davis Mills, Deshaun Watson, and C.J. Stroud. And it's interesting. And I know when Texans fans, hear the name Deshaun Watson, they sort of have this PTSD about it, right? Like, oh, but if you remember what Deshaun was in 2017 and remember him then, not what he became, but remember him then, he just kind of had this, I don't like to use the word swagger, but confidence. He's very, sure of himself. But just the way he carried himself. Now, that first training camp was up to Greenbrier, and it was up and down. There were days when you're like, okay, I see it. It's going to happen. And then there were days where you're like, man, I don't know. I think Bill O'Brien's going to go with Tom Savage because Tom would just be really kind of level all the way through. Whereas Deshaun had these high moments and low moments, high. And so he started kind of leveling those out, but it just wasn't fast enough to get him into the starting lineup. And then O'Brien had enough at halftime of the first game. He put in Deshaun. I see a lot of the same things with CJ. CJ will have moments like yesterday. They did a situational drill at the end of practice, and CJ was really dialed in. But earlier in the practice, he had thrown a pass that you go, man, you got to know that corner's just sitting there waiting because you got to know it's zone. So you got to know he's sitting there waiting. Steven Nelson picked off a pass. Day before, he had kind of had some struggles. But then there have been days where he's hit 6 straight and he just throws laser shots. And you're like, yeah, I see it. So it's very similar to Deshaun's. Tom Savage as a rookie didn't know. I mean, his head was going 25 different ways. And he just was rough because he hadn't played football, but that year in 2013, Davis Mills was not much was expected, really. So Davis was kind of just going about his business. And I remember there was a Saturday practice where Davis threw like 6 interceptions. And it was like, and that was Nick Caserio's first draft pick. And so everybody panicked and like, look, Tyrod Taylor's going to be the guy. Don't worry about it. And then week 2, Tyrod gets hurt. Davis has got to go in. And then Davis had some good moments. But I think CJ really is kind of closer to Deshaun in the fact that you see the brilliance. And then you see some things he needs to work on. So I think in due time it will be CJ. But Davis is hanging in there. Not perfect, but I think in comparison to rookies, I would put CJ up there with Deshaun, just the way he carries himself, how he goes about it. It's just Deshaun had so much more to work with. You know, Deshaun was throwing to Hop and Will Fuller. CJ's throwing to, 31-year-old Robert Woods, Nico Collins, who could be a 1, but he's been banged up. He's throwing to Tank Dell, who's 5'8". He's throwing to John Mechie, who is coming back off of leukemia. So, Deshaun had a pretty big advantage in the fact that he's throwing to those guys as opposed to what CJ's throwing to. So I do think in a year or two's time, we're going to look up and go, okay, we've added a receiver like a big time. We've added a CeeDee Lamb to the mix. We've added a Stephon Diggs to the mix. And now CJ's throwing to that guy. Oh, now it gets exciting. But it's going to be exciting either way because CJ's a competitor, man. You don't kind of get that. He's got kind of a laid-back California vibe to him. But, boy, he's got some fire in him. It doesn't come out all the time, but when you see it, you're like, okay. And these players have responded to him, and I love seeing that.
All right, buddy. Button your shirt when you do this one. This particular one I want to do it. It's not over your neck.
But if I do another button,
no, but nobody said to do the top button. What are you, a waiter?
I'm going to do the top button because now you've requested
and now
it.
your buttons are – all right, just tell the people what to do.
Okay. Well, before I pass out from this being way too tight, what you're going to want to do is subscribe, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube, follow the Twitter or the X, the Thread, the Instagram, the TikTok, subscribe to YouTube, comment whether or not David should unbutton another button on his shirt, which I think he should.
Yep.
And just have a great rest of your day and like and share this video.
Hey, I'm not making a joke. I'm actually asking a question. Have you gone a day since you've had your mustache that somebody hasn't pointed out that you have a mustache?
No, never.
Every day?
Every day.
It's a talking point.
It has to be. I was just looking at Brauny. We were talking about it.
Yeah. Huh. Must be nice. We'll see you next. See, I did it again. The point. You do the point for me.
Well, can I unbutton my shirt before I do the point?
Well, this is going way too long.
Okay. Bye.